Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss the 1978 version of The Hills Have Eyes, starring John Stedman, Gina Blythe, Peter Block, and Dee Wallace, and directed by Wes Craven. Now, I've never seen these original two, but I have seen the two remakes, and we'll get there when we get there, but let's just get into this movie. In the middle of the desert, we find Fred, played by John Stedman, telling Ruby, played by Janice Blythe, that he's going to leave her as the Carter family wants some gas as they're on the way to California. As far as the Carter family, we meet Ethel, who's the wife of Big Bob, as a retired cop, daughter Brenda, brother Bobby, along with a couple of the Woods, Doug and his wife Lynn, played by Dee Wallace, whom I've reviewed a couple of times in the Rob Zombie's Halloween and E.T. And these characters are not that likable, with the newborn baby as well as two German shepherds, one named Beauty, one named Beast. And they drive to California only to get stuck in the middle of the hills, and Wes Craven does an okay job with showing the audience how scary the hills are, in not only the daytime but at night. Unfortunately, it's not a movie you should eat in front of, as it's an ugly movie like the remake and its sequel, which I have seen both of those remakes, but not the second of the next one, I'll say. And I'll get to them soon enough. But for now, I don't really connect with these characters, and the sound design in this movie is cheesy, as they hear an airplane and the dog's crying is just as bad too. But admittedly, it was the 1970s. What are you gonna do? Brenda lets one of the dogs out, and I'm thinking because we don't find the dog until later on dead, found by Bobby, which I think it was Beauty. Yeah, that's what it was. I'm thinking, what a stupid fucking character she is, as one of the dogs gets attacked by violent cannibals. And we do see the dead body later, and we're about 20-25 minutes into an hour and a half movie, and I'm already against it at this point. And this early on, I wanted to turn this motherfucker off. Now you killed the dog, and I'm already against the movie. Meanwhile, Ethel and Lynn try to call for help, but they hear a breathing voice of these savages, but they don't say anything, which makes it dangerous for them to say because they're about to get attacked anyways. And why the fuck should I care? Because I don't. Big Bob goes back to the gas station to find Fred shooting at him, and Big Bob goes behind the door and sees Fred hanging himself until Big Bob gets him down, which is a stupid suicide, as Bobby gets back to the trailer. They're traveling in and can't tell the rest of the family of what happened to one or to Beauty, as he doesn't want to frighten them, and these characters don't have any arcs, as the story doesn't make it much sense, despite how realistic it could be. Big Bob finds one of the violent cannibals taking Fred's life, and attacks Big Bob and kills him slowly and painfully, and that's supposed to be shocking because I just found it laughable. Doug makes it back while the other dog, Beast, goes missing, and we catch up with Ruby with not savages, cannibals, as she's trapped with them. And honestly, I'm rooting for the other dog to live more than paying attention to this god awful piece of shit. The savage, or let me rephrase that. The cannibals arrive at the trailer as one of them attacks and rapes Ethel and Brenda, as Brenda is frightened and Ethel is dead, and they take their food and ammo and drinks blood of as he kills a bird, blows up, and Big Bob as and they kidnap the baby Katie, which is her name. And I'm getting tired of of the progress of this movie. It's making to the at the point I'm ready to check out at this point. And I have 35 minutes to go. This is once again an ugly movie with no appetite, but making me vomit. Just like the two fucking remakes when I'll get there. If it weren't for the show, I would have stopped at this point, but there's 3 more weeks to go, and I'm in for a bumpy ride in this bumpy series as it is. The dog notices, or should I say, Beast notices the savage, or Jesus Christ, the cannibals kidnap the baby as the doggy pushes one of the savages off a cliff and picks up the walkie-talkie, take takes it to the family of to what remains during the nighttime, which causes them to retaliate, which didn't feel too realistic as well as it was cheap. But at some point, they have to fight back. But I just don't care at this point. The editing was just mucking around just a horrible editing job in my opinion. It turns daylight and Beast leads Doug to the cannibals and the baby as the cannibals go after the people remained alive in the trailer while they try to call for help on the radio, but gets the cannibal on the line. Bobby thinks about blowing up a tire with gasoline, but Brenda has a bright idea of catching one of the cannibals. I keep putting savages in my notes and doggy and all that, so please forgive me. And uses the mother as bait as Beast fights off one of the cannibals as he tries to grab the knife and Beast pulls him away from it, and the other cannibal almost shoots the dog dead, but misses as he orders another cannibal to kill the baby, and Ruby takes it away from the cannibals, while Doug grabs the baby from Ruby. Meanwhile, the dog bites, or should I say, Beast bites the one cannibal's neck. I think his name was like Pluto or something. I forget. And makes him bleed to death. And that fight is brutal, but it still isn't interesting to me because I checked out 25 minutes ago. But unfortunately, Brenda's plan doesn't quite work. But the trailer blows up, which is kind of stupid, as the motherfucker is still alive and attacks Bobby, and Bobby shoots him dead. Meanwhile, one of the cannibals chases Doug and Ruby with the baby, and Doug knocks him to the dirt, while Ruby keeps the baby safe, but Ruby kills the cannibal off, and Doug stabs him to death, and as an ending, boy, was I glad it was over at that point. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 1.9 out of 10. Probably the worst Wes Craven movie I've seen in my life. I don't care for the characters, as this is a completely ugly movie, and we'll see how next week goes, but I'm in for a bumpy ride with a bumpy series, but I'm still hopeful for next week. But there's a good chance it'll end on a bad note. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next week I will be back with The Hills Have Eyes Part 2. And until next time,